Welcome and thanks for listening to another show of The Health Zone. I'm Mícheál Ó Mathúna. Check out and like our Facebook page on www.facebook.com/The Health Zone Show, or follow us on Twitter on the letter D Health Zone, or log on to our website on www.thehealthzoneshow.com. If you subscribe to our mailing list on there, you will get the Health Zone Show delivered to your inbox every week, and also you'll get a copy of our free ebook called How to Transform Your Health in 2016. Also, if you have any feedback on the show, or if you would like to get in touch with us, our email is tunein@thehealthzoneshow.com. Today I'm talking with Master Integrative Life Coach and CEO and Program Leader of the Ford Institute for Transformational Training, Kelly Kosow. Hello Kelly, how are you?
I am great, how are you?
Very good. So tell me Kelly, who are you and what do you do?
I was a lawyer, and then I had my own business, and as a result of that business, which was called Go Goddess, and we were doing games and seminars with women, I decided that just because I was a good girlfriend did not make me, it did not qualify me for holding a room at People. So at that time, life coaching was just coming into vogue, and I looked around and I asked around what was the best life coaching training, and everyone told me about the Ford Institute and the work of Debbie Ford. And so I got certified as a life coach from Debbie, and then I went on and did some other trainings. And then at one point after I sold this other business, I started just coaching full time, and Debbie invited me to come on staff to teach other people what I was doing, and everything just kind of went after that. I started doing more trainings and writing the courses. And then Debbie unfortunately had cancer. And as she got weaker, she needed support in leading her workshops. So she was training me. And, I had the benefit of having one of the greatest mentors in the world. And now I lead all the workshops and write the courses. And with two other women, we are carrying on this amazing work based on the body of work by Debbie Ford.
Was there something that prompted you to get into this type of work?
I think it's like so many things in life. You're not sure in the moment why you're doing something. In retrospect, it all makes sense and all the pieces fall together. So ultimately, what I thought I was doing this work to help hold other people. Of course, it was what I needed in my life. At the time, I was in a marriage that was not happy, and I was probably living a very, what I would call, outer referred life, thinking the next accomplishment, the next this, the next that would make me happy, yet never quite feeling that, sense of satisfaction, always that wanting of something more, I would say. And so I think that's really what resonated with me in this work. All of a sudden, this work, it just shifted the way I looked at myself, my life, the world. It gave me the courage to speak my truth. It gave me the courage to step out of a marriage that wasn't working and into a life that I would never have dreamed it was possible.
Can you tell me a little bit more about that journey, Kelly?
Well, at the time, I was raised, I was the ultimate overachiever, dutiful daughter, always trying to do the right thing, get great grades in school. I went to law school, went to an Ivy League college, went to law school, always the ultimate doer. But I was always trying to be, certain things. I was trying to be smart. I was trying to be charismatic, trying to be talented, trying to be good enough, trying to be perfect. And, I just wasn't raised in any conversation of transformation. When I got to, although I did lots of spiritual things and had all the stack of books beside my bed, they just hadn't kind of cracked the code for me. And when I got to the work of Debbie Ford, I could understand it because she put it in such speak. But it was really about embracing the totality of who you are. And the first words I heard Debbie Ford speak was transformation is a shift in perception. And of course, her work is based on the shadow, which is all the parts of ourselves that we don't want to be, that we disown, that we deem inappropriate, that we try to hide and cover up and create these personas that we're not that. Those are our shadows. And most of us spend so much of our time trying to hide, so much of who we are. Instead of running from ourselves, her work was about running to ourselves. And our work is based on this concept of wholeness, that we are everything that we see in the outer world. And all of it is there to serve us. I love the quote that God doesn't give us any spare parts. And so all of a sudden, it's about looking for the gifts in all of the qualities that are in you, the gift of your emotions and the gift of your past experience, so you can integrate them to be the fully expressed person that you are, knowing they all came there to serve your evolution.
And Kelly, why do you think we don't actually show people that side of ourselves?
Because of shame. Because something happens when we are young that because most of our unconscious mind is 98% more powerful than your conscious mind. Most of your unconscious mind, your operating system is formulated under the age of 10. Under the age of 10, you don't have the wherewithal to understand things properly. So we're all meaning-making machines. And we start creating those meanings early on. So, if the kid gets laughed at the playground, what do they make it mean about them? That there's something wrong with me. Or, if you stutter in class and your fellow students laugh at you, you make it mean you're stupid. And because you never want to feel the pain of that shame again, you create these personas and you deem parts of yourself as wrong. And so little by little, we're chipping away at who we are. And then we create these personas to show the world that we're something other than that, the opposite. But that's not evolution. That's just putting a Band-Aid on something or a mask on. And so that's why we cover it up, because we think it's out of shame.
Was there a part of your own life where you were ashamed to show or reveal to people?
I'm sure we all are. I was definitely that perfectionist kid. I don't know if I came out of the womb that way, or actually I saw my brother, I can tell you, used to have some learning challenges, and I decided that I would be the smart one. We're all labeled, that's the funny one, that's the pretty one, that's the smart one. I took on the role, I was going to be the smart one, because that's what I thought would make my parents proud. So we take on these roles, these personas, because we're trying to get something from the outer world. So I was trying to get love, attention, not get in trouble, like I saw my brother. So I made a decision that I was going to be that child, the perfect child, the overachiever, the one who got good grades. And so absolutely that drove me, because I didn't want to have the experiences that my brother had.
And how did you finally overcome them?
Well, I only overcame it when I started learning, working with Debbie Ford, because I had never been taught that. My upbringing was not that. And so when I got to Debbie, and that's why I'm so committed to bringing this work out in the world, because it totally gave me liberation. And, so many people are out there in the transformational world saying, get rid of your fear, get rid of your anger, get rid of this, get rid of that. It's not about getting rid of anything. You're not going to get rid of anything. You're not going to get rid of your fear. So the only way you can make peace with it is to bring love to something. So it was by bringing love to all these other things, all these qualities and all these emotions inside of me that I used to deem wrong. And until, it's like what you resist persists. So if I didn't want to be that, it was almost like a ball and chain I was dragging around. Once I brought love to it and found the gifts of it and how it served it, I made peace with these parts of myself, and they no longer had this grip on me. They weren't using me. I could use them.
And can you explain to me how you made peace with these parts
By
of
finding
yourself?
the gifts. When you find the gift, take a quality someone doesn't want to be, like selfish. If you can see that being selfish is actually a gift because it allows you to set boundaries. It allows you to take self-care. It allows you to say no. So being selfish, if you can find the gifts of any of these qualities, being stupid, it had me try harder. It has me ask questions. It has me learn things and go to different classes and things like that. So when you can find how all of these characteristics have or can serve you, then you can embrace them. And so it's by shifting your perception and looking through the eyes of what's the gift. When you get that the universe is happening for your soul's evolution, it's truly a benevolent universe. And it's there supporting your evolution and growth. And if you know that, that's the perspective you look at life, then anything that happens, you're always asking, what am I supposed to be learning here? What is the gift of this experience? And then I'm the co-creator of my life as opposed to being the victim of the life. Oh, poor me.
And Debbie, as you know, a lot of people have a tendency to resist this part of themselves. Why is that?
Because of shame. Because either we made it wrong or someone else made it wrong. So it could be that, your parents punished you for being irresponsible. You were told to stay after school because you were stupid. So somebody, either you made it wrong, you created a negative meaning about it early on, or somebody else made it wrong, your parents, your community, the church, whoever. And so you deemed it unacceptable. It's like people don't want to be angry because no one likes a girl with a sour face. Things like that, things that we're told, these little expressions that people say all the time. And as a child, we take them in and make them mean the truth.
How do you think these disowned and repressed parts of ourselves can lead to self-sabotage in our lives?
Because we don't feel worthy. Because it's like the beach ball. At some point, they're always going to come up, even if we put a mask over it. Because we're putting a Band-Aid over something, that's not growth. That's just putting a Band-Aid over something. If the universe is here to support your growth, at some point the Band-Aid's going to be ripped off so that you can see the part of yourself that you haven't accepted. Because, we always say that quote, there's no one out there. Everything is happening for your soul's evolution. It's everyone is holding the mirror for you. Life is your teacher. So everything that's happening is there to show you you. If we can unconceal the parts of ourselves that we're denying, then we can start working with that quality and saying, how can that serve me? How am I that? And what is the gift of that? And we can start embracing back these qualities and integrating them so we can become more whole.
Do you think most people have these shadow issues?
Everyone has a shadow. And it's not a bad thing. Shadow work is about bringing light to the parts of ourselves. There's gold in the dark. Shadow work is actually the work of the light worker.
Where does this shadow part of ourselves come from?
It comes from some experience that happens when we're young, and we create some sort of meaning. You do something, your father leaves, and you don't understand that your parents aren't getting along. So what do you make it mean about you? Because we all take things personally. So you make it mean that you're unlovable or you're broken. Or, we can oftentimes, we just, we take on the shadows of our family. It's like a family legacy that we can, people are told there are the haves and the have-nots, and our family is the have-nots. I mean, it's just so interesting to see how the shadow is formed. As a mother of 3 daughters, of course, we're always in this conversation at my house with my kids who are now in their 20s. And when I do processes with them and go back and, see where, one of them might have gotten, I don't belong or I don't fit in, because that's a common shadow belief. I'm always amazed to when they go back and they pinpoint the memory, the event that happened that had them create that meaning. It can be on the playground with, 3 little girls and, one gets left out, which it happens all the time. But that can trigger a meaning, I don't belong. And then that child will go out because the ego likes to be right, and shadow beliefs become self-fulfilling prophecies. So she'll keep creating scenarios in her life, these triangles where she gets to feel, or these situations, I don't belong. I'm not good enough. I don't belong. And that's and truly at the end of the day, it's the opportunity that the universe is giving her to see that she has this shadow belief that is running her life. And if you can bring the unconscious conscious, then you can shift it. And that's what our work is. It's about bringing these unconscious beliefs out of the shadows and into the light so that you can shift it.
And do you think this could be one of the reasons why people don't achieve what they want out of their lives?
Absolutely. Your shadow beliefs determine how much success, the quality of your relationships, how much love you'll allow yourself to have. And they are directly related to your self-sabotage, because on some level, if you believe you're not worthy, you're not deserving enough, you will self-sabotage yourself to prove how unworthy you are.
And how could a person do this?
By the choices they make. So if I don't believe I'm worthy enough, even if I go and I try to show the world how worthy I am, when it comes to doing something for myself because I have a belief I'm unworthy, I'm not going to take care of myself. I'm going to do something that's, contrary to my goals, because at the end of the day, I believe I'm not worthy. So that's one way that the shadow sabotages you. And the other is a lot of times people don't want to even feel the pain. And so we numb out. And so we just self-sabotage because there's so much shame, because underneath it all, we all believe that we're not good enough. We all have that incessant internal dialogue in our minds that's constantly saying, you're not this enough, you're not that enough, you're not whatever. And because we want to numb out, we end up self-sabotage. We overspend, we overdrink, we overeat, we work, we do all these things to sabotage ourselves because we don't want to be with ourselves. When you do shadow work and you can embrace all of yourself, then you can be with yourself. Then you don't have to numb out.
Do you think it's possible for people to change their lives?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I see it all the time. We see it in all our courses. I just did a shadow process workshop, which is really one of the cornerstones of our work, this 3-day workshop. And I am always in awe of what people unconceal, what they share, and then the changes that happen, because your outer world is a reflection of your inner world. So if you think about that, if you're owning only 20% of who you are and the qualities and characteristics and emotions inside of you, then if your outer world is a reflection of that, then you're only going to be manifesting 20%. If you own 50%, then it's 50%. And if you can be with 90%, then you're going to manifest 90%. So when your inner world changes, your outer world reflects it. And we see it all the time. People's relationships change. They lose weight. They quit the job that they've been unhappy with. We've had people share, they have the conversations with their mother or their children that they've never had, because all of a sudden they feel comfortable about being seen and speaking their truth.
And it seems to be one of the hardest things to do in this world is actually speak your truth.
Yeah, and to be seen. And that's why if you can make peace with yourself, you'll allow yourself to be seen. You don't have to keep editing yourself. We all are editing all the time. We're trying to create this persona of perfection, and it's exhausting.
How important is it to have a vision or a goal for your life?
Well, the vision, it's important. First of all, the vision and the goal, they inform your choices. So it goes kind of back to, that self-sabotage. If you have a vision and a goal and your choices are in alignment with that vision and goal, you're always keeping that in mind. That's a great barometer for you so that, because those visions and goals are achieved step by step, action step by action step. And so you want to, one of Debbie's great books is this book, The Right Questions. And it's really about, it's about if you ask that your life is a reflection of your choices you make. And if you ask yourself the right questions, then they're more apt to support you in making high-level choices. And then the choices that you make are reflected in your life. So the choices you made yesterday, are reflected in what you're experiencing in the present. And the choices that you make today are going to, manifest what your tomorrow is going to be. So so if you have a vision and goal, and so these right questions are great in helping you, supporting you to make the right choices to move to your vision and goals. So vision and goals are important because they help inform your choices. It would be like, if I get in my car and start driving, I'm aimless. If I get in my car in New York and decide it, then go, okay, I'm going to California, then I know where to turn.
How important do you think it is for goal to be congruent with who we are?
I don't really understand that question because I think a lot of us have ego goals because we think who we want to be. So for us, it's about if you can quiet that mind, that monkey mind we all have, you can hear the whispers of your soul. So that's a really complicated, that question to me has a lot of layers because most of us, there's this image of who we think we should be and what we should be achieving. And look how many people get to that, or they take that job on Wall Street, or they write that book, and then they're like, okay, I got to that, now what? So, it's also the difference. What we say about shadow work is that when you can, embrace all of who you are, and that's when you can start hearing the whispers of your soul.
What I meant by that question, Kelly, is in regard to the goal being in line with our own values rather than someone else's values, if that makes sense.
Yeah, well, that's hugely important. That's personal integrity. And, we've all tried doing things to please others, and that doesn't work, or because someone else thinks we should, or we think we should be that. But ultimately, you want to get quiet enough so that you can create your own vision and your own goal.
And is there a way to know that we're actually creating the goal that we want to achieve and not somebody else's goal?
Well, I think you have to do work, and you have to start this, really start living of a place from self-referral. So many people look outside themselves to inform themselves. So our work is about that your answers lie within. Unfortunately, most people don't trust themselves because they've stepped over their own integrity so many times. So all our work, we ask a lot of questions. We do processes because we believe we don't, the wonderful thing about Debbie, it wasn't about her becoming this guru. It was about her being this facilitator and really standing in the paradigm that your answers lie within you. You're the greatest expert of your life. And so we start the minute we start working with people, bringing them inside so they can build that muscle of trust within themselves. Most people don't trust themselves. That's why, they're constantly asking, what should I wear? Does this look good on me? What do you think?
And would our intuition play a part in this process?
Yeah, but we have to start trusting that, being able to tune in and trust. It's there. We all have it. It's like a muscle. It needs to be exercised. And we need to acknowledge that it is within us.
And why do you think some people achieve goals in their lives and say other people don't?
Well, there's a lot of self-sabotage. It could start for us with shadow beliefs. If you have some shadow belief that, you're unworthy or you're not good enough. So the shadow is a big reason people don't achieve goals. And, other things and then that also creates self-sabotage. It could be that some people are lazy or, some other things. But, we would always start by looking at the shadow and your shadow beliefs.
And as you know, Kelly, procrastination can be a big component of people not achieving their goals as well. And do you have a process to change that?
Well, we always are looking. See, for us, a goal is we do obviously a lot of different programs, and we have coaches that we train who take people one-on-one through different coaching models. And oftentimes we have coaching models or programs where the person, at the beginning, they identify a goal that they want to achieve. And it's usually like a 3-month program. And we use the goal because what happens in your trying to achieve that goal is a mirror of what happens in your trying to achieve any goal. So all the beliefs, all the thoughts, all the patterns, all the excuses, justifications, rationalizations that come up in one goal, that's what impacts all your goals. So for some people, that pattern of procrastination is one of the huge reasons why they don't achieve that goal. So then we look with them about what happened or what's underneath the procrastination. Is it fear of failure? So if they don't try, they don't have to fail. So that's why they procrastinate. Is the procrastination from something else? So we always try to go under. The procrastination is a pattern. And if there's some pattern of behavior, you want to look at what are you getting from that pattern of behavior, even if it doesn't make sense. Granted, there's a cost to the pattern of behavior, which generally people can easily identify. But on some level, they're getting something. They get to stay safe. They get to play small. They don't have to put themselves out there. So there's a lot of things people get from these patterns of behavior, even if they're counterintuitive, and that's why they engage in them.
And how important do you think, say, having the right attitude in achieving a person's goal?
Yes, attitude and being open and willing to be the observer of yourself, to really, because anyone can have the right attitude and they can be rah-rah for a while or keep something going for, 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. But that could be, we've seen it. We see it in the news all the time. Someone attains some huge goal and then after that they live a life of self-sabotage. So it's not just having that attitude for the moment. It's about being the observer of yourself and being committed and willing to always keep looking, to keep peeling back the layers of your onion so you can really see what's driving your operating system.
And would you have any examples who's gone through that process and changed their life?
Our process, we see people all the time. All the time. People, they create a goal and they just keep looking at whatever's getting away in the goal. The thoughts, the patterns, the excuses. When we work with people, it's really about, for me, I live my life on this bar of being unrecognizable. And I'm always looking for that next evolutionary leap. Like, what can I do to be unrecognizable today? And that was one of the concepts Debbie wrote in her last book, Courage. And that's what we see people becoming, unrecognizable, whether it's in a conversation, whether it's in all of a sudden they're training for a marathon, whether it's just how they're being in the world.
And how important do you think is it for someone to be authentic?
Well, it's hugely important because authenticity, that the truth shall set you free. So to be authentic is huge. And especially to yourself. who you choose to share your authenticity with. It might be times where you make a high level choice not to share parts of yourself with certain people because you don't, maybe they can't receive you, or maybe you don't want to share that part of you with someone. But at least you want to be authentic with yourself, and hopefully there are people and relationships in your life where you can be totally authentic and have that kind of connection.
I know fear is probably a big component of why people don't be authentic, but is there any other reasons for that?
I think it's fear and shame. Yeah, I think that's mainly it. But mainly people are, afraid that if you know who you are, you will leave me or you won't love me.
And what are your thoughts on forgiveness?
Forgiveness is the hallway from the past to the present. So forgiveness, in practically every spiritual book or teacher has a chapter or conversation about forgiveness. And, in our work, forgiveness is a gift that you give yourself, because the amount you can create in your life is, equal to the amount you can forgive. Ultimately, it is all about, it starts with forgiveness of others, but it's really all about self-forgiveness. Because if you're still beating yourself up, you're not going to allow yourself on some level or feel deserving enough on some level to go have a great life. So ultimately, you've got to find that self-forgiveness because you hold the lock and the key.
And what do you mean by self-forgiveness?
Well, for us, it is a gift you give to yourself. So it's cutting the karmic cord. It's about finding the gifts in the past so that you no longer are resenting yourself or others. It's making peace.
And do you think it is possible in this lifetime to experience that peace?
I think so. I think forgiveness is a process. And, I think most of these steps where everyone is out there talking about, acceptance, forgiveness, I think they're all a process. And I think you can keep doing forgiveness work and, on different people and on yourself. And, little by little, if you're working all your tools and your concepts, and if you are really committed to your, spiritual process or whatever you want to call it, yeah, I think that you can keep create. I see it as an opening, like we're all this vessel, and the vessel can only, hold so much. So if it's filled with toxicity, then there's not going to be a whole lot of room for the good stuff. But I think, if you think about transformation, in some ways is a process of elimination. So if you can keep eliminating and dissolving that toxicity, then there's more and more space. So the more forgiveness, self-forgiveness, the more and more space you make for creation and for self-love. And the more self-love, the more you're going to make high-level choices, which will make you more self-loving, and then more high-level choices. So it's exponential.
Why do you think we find it so hard to forgive?
Because we're so used to beating ourselves up. It's like we're trained in beating ourselves up. When we do the shadow process, it's this beautiful journey from kind of the dark to the light. And for so many people, it's much easier to own their dark. Tell me I'm stupid. Tell me I'm not good enough. I've been telling myself that for years. Tell me I'm brilliant. Tell me I'm beautiful. Tell me I'm magnificent. Those words are much harder for most people to get out of their mouths.
And why do you think we find it so hard to forgive even other people as well? Like, say, people might make us angry or whatnot.
Well, because we're getting something out of not forgiving. We get to remain the victim. We don't have to take responsibility for our lives. Maybe we'd have to step up to the plate. We get something out of not forgiving someone, and that's why we keep the ball and chain in place. And most of the time, you wouldn't even know, some people wouldn't even know who they were if they didn't have that grudge. It's like drinking the poison and thinking someone else is going to die. No.
And do you think the ego be a factor in all of this?
Of course, the ego wants to be right about how awful you were. The ego loves to be right. and, the unhealed ego, let's put it that way, the wounded ego. Or the wounded ego could have fear. If I let you off the hook, then I have to go create my own life. And that can be really scary to have to take that kind of responsibility.
Do you think we really have control over our life, or is there something else guiding this life for us?
Do I think that there are some situations that are karmic? Yes. I mean, me personally, this doesn't, we don't really talk about this in Shadow for Work. Kelly personally does think that there are some things, but I also think that we are the co-creators of our life as well. And I also think there's this great divine design. But are we going to step in the plate and become a participant in our life? There is some choice there.
The Paris tax there,
right.
What would be your thoughts on this?
There are certain things that personally I just deem as awful. Could I find the shadow of it? Yes, I could find the shadow of it, but something that I see as so awful, I don't even want to start looking at the shadow and the shadow of terrorism and all that stuff. To me, it's just too awful to even speak about it, not to speak about it, but to try to rationalize it in my work. Sometimes just awful things happen.
I suppose, the reality is a lot of people want to be financially abundant in their lives as well, Kelly, and I suppose some people achieve and other people don't.
Right.
Do you think the shadow part of a person is blocking this from happening in their lives?
Absolutely. Money, there's so much. We always do conversations on the shadow of money, and there are a lot of shadows of money. I mean, think back to all the messages that you get around money, beyond your own. So first of all, there are the messages we get around money. So there's, money is the root of all evil, or, things like that we hear as a child. And then, of course, there's your relationship to money, because, money you have a relationship with money, and money is also an energy. So, of course, a lot of your shadows, it comes back to a lack consciousness and an abundant consciousness. If you have this abundance consciousness, and you clear out all your shadows around money, then that flow of energy can flow freely and abundantly. Yet if you have stuff blocking that flow, or beliefs that are cutting off that flow, then the flow of money is going to be compromised. So there's a lot that the shadow impacts money, your abundance. And honestly, most people do have a lack consciousness.
What's the way of overcoming that?
Well, it's like anything else. You have to unconceal it. So you have to go back and it's almost like a treasure hunt. Kind of go back and see what were all the messages that you got around money. What were you taught? What did you see? What did you make it mean? Some people, it's about struggle. They come from that place of struggle. It's hard to make money. So they have lots of beliefs around money, and then they have lots of beliefs around themselves. I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. There are the haves and the have-nots. I'm the have-not, that also impact their relationship to money and the flow of money to and from them. So people need to start unconcealing all these meanings they have, and all these things that are running their operating system and impacting their relationship and their, the amount of money in their life. And as they start unconcealing them, they can start seeing, okay, this is what I made that mean about me when I was, can I shift that meaning? And you can shift your relationship with money. What's the action step I have to, so there's the unconcealing, and then it's about taking action. So maybe I have to go take a course here. Maybe I have to put myself on a budget. Maybe I have to learn more about money, but money is a huge one.
Do you have a workshop that deals with money, or is it kind of all encompassing in your work?
Well, on some programs, we have specific discussions on money. I think I just taught one on Tuesday night, actually. And some proponents, or some of our programs, if one of your goals might be something around money, and then, you're always working on that individually. So yeah, I mean, money, finances, it's a huge factor for most people. So that's always in the conversation, of course.
Would you have any tips or guidelines for our listeners on how they could transform or change their lives in a more impactful way?
Well, first they should come to the shadow process and go to thefordinstitute.com to find out about the shadow process. But I think it's about being willing and really finding the conversation that resonates with you. Because change is possible. Absolutely. Suffering is optional. Struggling is optional. But they have to be committed to something bigger than their struggle or their suffering. And so, for me and for everyone who loves the work that we do at the Ford Institute and, all of Debbie's work, it's because that work, shadow work, changed their life. For me, it wasn't about the affirmations or, I tried to do the sweat lodges and the rebirth. It didn't do anything. It was nice. I felt better after for a few days, but it didn't transform the way I saw things. Find some work that's going to penetrate into the different cells of your body, because, it's the way you view your life and and the circumstances and who you are. And that view can shift, but you need to commit to some sort of process. And so find the process and the work that resonates with you.
If you want to find out more about the Ford Institute, Kelly, how can they do it?
You can go on to thefordinstitute.com, find out everything about our coaches. You can find out about the shadow process, the shadow experience. We do programs, and most of, a lot of our stuff is done. I know you're in Ireland. We do everything over the phone. We have a global classroom. Yes, our workshops are in person, many of them. But we have people come in from all over the world, and our programs we're starting one in January called Radical Reinvention. And that's one of the ones where you identify a goal, and then we look at all the different aspects that impact your manifesting of the goal. I'm now finishing up teaching one of my favorite courses. It's called Every Choice Matters, and it's really about looking at the choices we make. Every choice, and it's really declaring every choice matters and what impacts us from living a life where every choice matters, and what happens when you commit to living a life where every choice matters. And so we have great programs that anyone can jump into from anywhere around the world. And our coaches, we're all coaches, we all work on the phone.
Thanks so much for your time, Kelly. I really appreciate it, and I really enjoyed chatting with you.
Thank you. Have a great weekend.
Thanks for listening to another show of The Health Zone. Tune in next week for more exciting and interesting topics and guests in the areas of spirituality, relationships, finance, creativity, health, career, and much, much more. In the meantime, check out and like our Facebook page on www.facebook.com/The Health Zone Show, or follow us on Twitter on the letter D Health Zone, or log on to our website www.thehealthzoneshow.com. If you subscribe to our mailing list on there, you will get the Health Zone Show delivered to your inbox every week, and also you'll get a copy of our free book called How to Transform Your Health in 2016. Also, if you have any feedback on the show, or if you would like to get in touch with us, our email is tunein@thehealthzoneshow.com. Well, until next week, have a fantastic, healthy and happy week.